Okay. So I feel like I've been hearing a lot lately, like an overwhelm with meals and meal planning, yet at the same time, but I want variety. I don't have very much variety. And so it's like, I feel like people are thinking that in order to have variety, they have to have like some elaborate recipe plan, right? And I don't think that's the case. Um, this is how I feel. I feel like, okay, maybe you are having chicken 4 times a week. Who knows? I'm just making this up. But grilled chicken versus Instapot chicken versus sheet pan chicken versus like chicken legs and, burrito bowl chicken, shredded chicken. I feel like just cooking it differently is variety. It always tastes different when I cook it different. It always has different texture. It's always better for, bowls or just traditional Fitme plates or whatever. And so the way you cook your meat, I feel like is variety. And that goes for pork, beef, shrimp, whatever. The other thing that makes variety is spices. And I feel like with spices, I've said this before, I'm a blend person. Like, yeah, I can very easily like Google Cajun recipe and get all the spices and put it together. And I probably have all the spices, but that's like in a perfect world where I'm like, a chef and I've got all day to like plan and prepare and prep my meals and stuff, which never happens. So I use blends all the time. And so that's another way for variety, right? There's a million different blends. There's just a basic blend with garlic powder, salt and pepper. There's always like Mexican blends. There's always Cajun blends. There's always like blends with like lemon in it. Or another spice you can use to change things up is lemon zest. Like, so there's these little things that are like very easy that make your food taste different, aka variety, right? Same goes with potatoes or vegetables, right? And so it doesn't have to be some recipe that we are making. And we all know what recipes are like the first time, right? And this is, I think, what scares people away from like variety is like, oh my God, I have to like make a recipe. I got to look at it. I got to get all the little half a teaspoon of this, and whatever, all the little 10,000 ingredients it takes. And then I have to read the directions and figure out how okay, never mind. I'm just going to have like the go-to dry ass chicken breast with, whatever vegetable I'm having. And so we don't have to recipe everything out. Unrecipes are amazing. And just a little side note is that like sometimes my recipes literally consist on like what needs to be eaten, right? And so it's not very often that I throw a meal together, even though I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this with this. I'm going to throw this with this, like just whatever's in the fridge that people go, that didn't work. Literally, that does hardly ever happen. So taking a little risk, and I'm talking tiny risk with throwing things in that maybe you're not used to, throw in some cilantro at the end or, some basil. Herbs are another way to make variety very simply. Something that comes to mind, like think about a shepherd's pie. Has anybody ever made a shepherd's pie before? I feel like it is like a feat to make a shepherd's pie. You got to like mash the potatoes. You got to like cook the beef. You got to, saute all the vegetables in there. You got to make the roux with the milk and the flour and like all these, there's like 5 million steps in it. And it is delicious, but I feel like that's what people think of when they think of variety. And so just wrapping our minds around that, like variety can also be simple and it doesn't have to be like some elaborate restaurant recipe. So that's what I thought we'd talk about. Like, is anybody struggling with variety? What did they think about variety? Do they have any ideas about simple variety? Do they need some new simple variety unrecipes, I like to call them. So let's just kind of open it up. So Nicole, we're talking about simplicity, simple meal planning, prepping, but still having variety, easy ways to have variety within that realm.
We eat a lot of the same things. So there's not a lot of variety. My husband's very, very picky about what he'll eat and what he won't eat. So we spend a lot of time eating the same things. And I'm just now, after 10 years together, getting him to add a little variety. So if I come across a recipe that I think he might like, we'll try it. And if he likes it, we'll make it again. If he doesn't, then it's off the list.
Have you ever sat down and just taken like 5 minutes and been like, would you be willing to try this? Would you be willing to try this? What are you totally against? What are you a little, what are you totally not against? Like, and just making like a little, 3-minute just like interview list.
Well, yeah, I've done it, but every time I try to, it's better if I just make something and see if he likes it than it is to say, hey, would you like to try this? Because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, he'll say no.
Got
So
it.
if I just come across a recipe that he likes and make, or that he might like and make it, then I have a better chance of him liking it.
Right. Is he a texture dude? A lot of people are picky because they're texture people. They're like, oh, that's just weird in my mouth.
No.
Flavor dude?
It's all flavor. And he likes bland. Like when I first met him, he wouldn't put taco seasoning in his taco meat. It was just hamburger, and he uses ketchup instead of salsa. And he bland chicken, no seasoning, no salt and pepper, nothing on it. So finally I've got him to have some seasonings now on his food. It's taken 10 years.
The good thing for you is that you can kind of, even if it's cooked, even if it's like not like traditionally seasoned before it's cooked or something like that, is you can season it however you like.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my battle when it comes to making food, is making something that he'll eat.
Mm-hmm. That can be a battle.
It's gotten better. I do have to say that. In 10 years, it's gotten a lot better.
Good.
Because we were the family who ate chicken 4 or 5 times a night or a week.
And so am I sometimes, but it's like, sometimes I make meatballs. Sometimes I do shredded Instant Pot, thighs. Sometimes I do like legs in the air fryer. Sometimes I do. And so we are eating chicken a lot, but it feels different.
Right.
And that's another really simple tool, is the air fryer.
I love my air fryer. I don't know how I ever lived without it. I cook everything in there. Pork tenderloin, chicken breasts, everything goes in the air fryer, basically.
The air fryer is a really cool, simple tool.
I'm washing it like 2 or 3 times a day.
I probably wouldn't even be washing it at that point.
Well, okay, let's put it depends on what was cooked in it last. Mm-hmm. If it's just vegetables, I'm not worried about it. But if it's meat, then I try to wash it out. So
does anybody have any simple like potato recipes or rice recipes that are just like simple and basic, but like add variety versus just like roasted potatoes or steamed rice?
I like potatoes au gratin, but if you don't make it right, it can be really high in calories.
Yeah. I've never made it. It seems like a lot of work.
It is.
My mother-in-law taught me how to make a Guyanese dish called cook-up rice. And it could be either a meal completely on its own, or it could be a side. So it's basically just a rice that you can add vegetables as well as meat into, and it's like a one-pot dish. So what I typically do is you can use, she uses parboiled rice, but you can use pretty much any type of rice. And what I do is I chop up all my veggies. So usually I'll use tomato, onion, garlic, cilantro. You can add protein. So if you want to dice up like a piece of like steak, or if you want to do chicken, you can pretty much do any type of protein you want. And you basically, in a big pot that you can cook your rice in, you put the veggies in, and you can add in zucchini, you can add in broccoli, however you want to, whatever veggies you want to add in. And you cook the veggies down, get them soft with the a little bit of olive oil, and then you can add in or you cook the meat first and then add the veggies. And then you can add the rice in with some chicken broth and season, if you want to put some more salt in there, you just want to use chicken broth and let that cook down. It makes a really, really great flavorful rice. And like I said, you can use it as a full meal or you can use it as a side. But if you just want to do the vegetarian route, you can just add a boatload of different vegetables and just saute those down. And so they start to get translucent, and then add the rice in and make it like a veggie rice. But it's really good.
That sounds good. Does that go in like a pot or like a deep dish, like pan?
Like a pot. Like, so I usually use like a stew pot because typically they, from traditionally they use this as like for holidays and big family gatherings. So it's usually a big volume that is made, but I've made like one pot of it. You can also add beans. That's the other piece. Forgot. You can add different type of beans. So I like it with either black-eyed peas, black beans, or pigeon peas. So you can add that in if you want to add some, protein without adding, and keep it vegetarian. So I usually add the beans and meat.
That sounds delicious. Once you put everything in and you got the rice in the broth, and you put the lid on and let it steam, like you
put it on. Yep, and let it steam. And it cooks really quick. Like the longest part is chopping everything. That's the main thing, is chopping up all the veggies. And it's like my mother-in-law, she adds steak to it a lot of times. So she'll get like a piece of cheap steak and just dice it up and cook that down in the same pot. So it's really great because you can just use one pot. Brown the meat off, then add the veggies in, let those start to get a little soft, and then you add in your rice and your peas. Like I use canned, I don't do the dry, it just takes too long. So whatever can of peas you want to use, and add that in, and your chicken broth, and just cover on, let it come to a boil, turn it down. And I usually, when I'm starting to see the water or the liquid bubble up just above the rice, that's when I turn off the heat and put the lid back on and let it steam the rest of the way. And it usually comes out perfect.
That sounds good. I'm actually going to try that.
Yeah.
Me too.
That sounds
it's really
good.
easy. And the key is to keep your rice from getting sticky is to wash your rice previously to get all this extra starch off. That keeps it really nice and flaky and fluffy, I should say.
That sounds really good.
It sounds so yummy. I'm so hungry right now.
And that sounds simple, and it sounds like leftovers.
Yeah. Yep. And you can make it and it lasts. Like I said, they usually culturally they'll make it on New Year's for New Year's Day. And it's like a huge pot. Like my mother-in-law came down, I think, for one holiday, and she bought her own pot because she didn't think I had pots big enough. And the pot almost didn't fit like on my stove. Like I couldn't cook like 2 other dishes until she finished cooking the rice. That's how big this pot was. So
what's it called again?
Cook up rice. Literally exactly where it sounds. Cook, COOKUP rice. It's a Guyanese Caribbean dish.
I am going to try that. I will let you know how it comes out.
Awesome. Me too. I might just cook it pre-cook the meat and put it in the rice cooker with the vegetables and just have it all cooked together in the rice cooker. Because I'm not going to make a huge pot of it, but
yeah, that sounds really good. I think another way to have variety, and this may take just experimenting or, like a 3-minute Google search, I don't know, is just finding flavors that complement each other. Like, I know I've said this before too, but two of my favorite things together are apples and cilantro. Don't ask me why. I just think it's so good. And it's like, I can transform something with apples and cilantro. Don't ask me. I love putting it in my salads, or I love putting it also in like on top of tacos, just to kind of make a basic taco seem simple. And let's talk about tacos for a second, because I feel like tacos Taco Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like it doesn't really matter. I feel like the go-to sometimes is like, oh crap, I don't have anything. We're having tacos. Like, oh, tacos again. But I feel like the toppings can like transform what the taco is. It's kind of like a sandwich, like sandwich or taco. If you could have either one, if you had to choose, which one would you have for the rest of your life? Tacos. But they both are the same things. You can kind of like make them into whatever flair you want. I also like to use that Bolt House dressing sometimes and like make like a slaw. I love the Bolt House coleslaw. I don't think they make it anymore. I can't find it. But sometimes I'll just make my own coleslaw, which is so easy, which is like a little bit of mayonnaise, apple cider vinegar, maybe a little bit of sugar. Like I don't get too crazy. You know, it's not enough sugar to like make a difference. It's not like we're having the candy bar, and I'll just make like a coleslaw to go on top of my tacos. So finding creative toppings for your tacos versus just the traditional tacos, that can create a lot of variety, and it's simple and easy.
I love mango salsa.
Oh, me too.
Oh, with cilantro, so good.
That is true. And that's another variety because, you know, traditional salsa and mango salsa are like way two different planets. And literally you can have the same meat and it still tastes totally different.
Yes.
I have to say, while we're on here, I did try overnight oats and they tasted good, but the texture turned me off. So I'll cook my oats from now on.
I'll have to try overnight oats again. But Raquel, you said you put like Greek yogurt in them, which I've never tried that. And I was like, maybe that'll change the texture because I know exactly what you're talking about, Julie. It's not quite cooked. It's not hard anymore, but it's not like soft.
Well, I don't know. I used old-fashioned oats, and then I put pineapple Chobani yogurt in there with a teaspoon of maple syrup and milk and chia seeds in there. And it tasted amazing, but the texture, I just couldn't quite get over the texture of it. So, of the uncooked oats. So, yeah, I'm going to have to cook them. I mean, once they're cooked, I think, and cold, I might be able to eat it that way, but they need to be cooked for me.
Does anybody have snack variety problems? I do. I have snack variety problems.
I pretty much eat the same snack all the time.
I do too. Or I don't eat a snack because I'm in a rut with a snack and I'm like, I don't know what to have. And then I just like have tortilla chips or something, which is not good.
I usually do my kind of bars with peanut butter. So, because usually when I want a snack, I'm craving something sweet. And even though they're not Fitme, it takes care of that craving for sweetness and stuff. So
I have a feeling, because I know what kind bars are and I know what peanut butter is and I know how much fat both of them have in it. I'm having a feeling that you're more craving fat than you're craving sweet, because the fat is satisfying. And when you just said it takes care of that craving, I feel like maybe you're not eating enough. I know you're not eating enough, but maybe you're not eating enough. And so you're having this kind of energy craving.
I actually eat a lot of more fat than most people do. I have a tendency to be lower on carbs because I don't eat bread or grains, or generally I don't eat bread because
Are you gluten-free?
Gluten-free. And then pasta, I have a tendency to stay away from that because even the gluten-free stuff, a lot of it has corn in it. And the stuff that doesn't have corn in it doesn't taste good and it dissolves in water basically. So you have to be like watching it so it doesn't overcook and disintegrate. So I'm way lower on carbs than I am on fat any day.
And I feel like that too can give you energy. There's this thing like, okay, so like, let's talk about, this is totally off topic for a second, but let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about keto and not keto, right? Keto is like when you're burning fat for fuel, right? But in order to get your body to actually burn fat for fuel, you have to like take all the carbs away, right? Because carbs are our body's preferred energy source. So if you're anybody, not you necessarily, but if someone is in this state of high fat, but not quite low enough carbs to make the fat energy take over, then guess what? This is when we have this energy like, the body's like, I'm getting calories and I'm getting calories, but I'm getting carbs, but just not enough. But I'm not getting not enough that I can burn fat. Does that make sense? And so we get into this like craving of things sometimes because our bodies needs energy and it has just enough carbs to not be able to use the fat for fuel. And so we're craving carbs, which is sugar. And so sometimes that happens when we're not quite in that like balance, that unbalance of either. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But but where do those numbers fall? You know, how many carbs is not
It's
enough?
usually 20 grams or under, like something like that, to like get into that ketosis, which ketosis is when you are burning fat.
No, I like my vegetables, so that's where my carbs, fruit and vegetables is where my carbs come from generally. So,
and how many grams of carbs are you eating in a day?
I probably get between 80 and 120. It just depends on what I eat.
And so that's what I'm saying, that your carbs aren't quite high enough for your body to be like satisfied with energy, but they're not low enough for your body to be burning fat for energy. And so sometimes,
how do I get more carbs when I don't eat grain?
you do potatoes. I mean, you got to get creative. Potatoes, rice. Do you eat rice?
Yeah, rice, and I'm not a big fan of quinoa, but.
And that's like when the creativity of variety comes in, right? Sometimes we do have to put a small amount of effort into like finding out something new, right? If we're talking about variety in terms of like, I just want to eat something new. Well, guess what? We've got to educate ourselves a little bit. We can't just expect something new to fall into our laps. And so, but the learning curve is small, right? We find something new. We go, oh, I'm going to try that. I'll put that on my list. And then we cook it and they're like, oh my God, that was easy. And it's amazing. I got a new food. Or we're like, that sucked. I'm not going to do that again. Let's try again. So it's kind of like finding variety also in new foods does take a little bit, but it doesn't take that much in terms of like, in terms of like not trying anything at all and being like, I need variety. Like sometimes we have to put a little bit of effort out there just to try something new. And usually it's low risk.
Yeah, I could try. Well, I mean, I do want to put oatmeal back in. So adding oatmeal will add those carbs. And I'm trying to do gluten-free pancakes or waffles or something like that, which will add carbs too. So.
And you could do other vegetables like, root vegetables, if you like root vegetables, or like squash. Yeah. And it's like the glory on that is you get to eat more of it. I hear my fire alarm going off. Like it usually goes off at like 4 a.m. and you're like, it needs a new battery. I hear it.
At least it's not 4 a.m.
I know. Totally. Now, hopefully I have a 9-volt. So I challenge everybody to try one new variety thing, whether it's cooking something new, using a different spice, cooking something in a different method than they're used to cooking in, and then report back to me how hard it was and if it worked out. Like I did it, it took 3 minutes extra of my time, and now I have a new food or a new method of cooking or a new variety. I'm going to challenge you guys to do that. Anything else before we go? Latika's in bed.
I'm on the couch.
Hey, I'm in bed too.
I'm jealous. That's
But I
all.
won't be staying here. We gotta go cook some
clean up
dinner
the
for the
kitchen.
little one.
I still gotta
Leah told me about a carb. Is it? I can't remember. Was it polenta or risotto? Are they called
polenta.
polenta?
I mean, risotto's amazing, but risotto's hard to cook. You have to stir it the whole time, and it's like hit and miss if it's even gonna be good. Like risotto's like one of those finicky things.
Because you said that, so it was polenta. Okay.
It was polenta, yeah. And I like polenta. It takes 5 minutes to cook, and you can literally I like it with just like garlic, salt and pepper. Sometimes I put a little lemon zest in there. That's so good. And
What's
sometimes
polenta?
it's a cornmeal, basically. A lot of times you see it in the store in like a log, like vacuum sealed. Like, I don't like that one. I like the Bob's Red Mill. Like, I think it's polenta, aka corn grits. I think is like what it says on the. Yeah, Julie, you can't have that.
No.
But it is really good, and it's something different. And I even like it cold, like in salads later. It sounds very weird, but I do.
I finally found the Siete grain-free chips. They don't
Mhm. Oh,
have
those are
corn in
good.
them.
Yeah,
And they're actually really good with salsa.
They are
So
good.
that's been I've been eating those lately.
Good. That gives you some variety.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to find a corn chip that didn't, or something like a corn chip that didn't have corn in it.
Totally. I like those. Okay, ladies, I will see you next week. If anybody else has a topic they want to talk about, just Facebook me. Put it on Facebook, message me, do Marco Polo me, whatever you want to do.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Leah.
Bye, ladies. You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.